Welcome to Grace Mitchell Stories, where every tale reminds us of the power of truth, kindness, and love. Today's story is about a young waitress struggling to hold her world together, and a powerful CEO who stumbled into her life at just the right moment. One chance encounter in a small cafe would change both of their lives forever, and leave an entire room of strangers in stunned silence. The story begins on a rainy Tuesday evening in downtown Chicago. Ethan Reynolds, age 42, was one of the most powerful men in the city. A self-made billionaire, CEO of Reynolds Enterprises. He had everything: wealth, influence, respect. But behind his sharp suits and commanding presence, Ethan carried scars of his own: childhood poverty, betrayal in business, and the lonely weight of success. That evening, tired from a grueling board meeting, he ducked into a quiet corner diner, not the kind of place CEOs usually visited. He wanted something simple, something human. It was there he met Sophie Miller, a 24-year-old waitress juggling trays, bales, and the invisible burden of her life. And it was there that Ethan would see Sophie crying in the corner of the diner, not realizing that what he was about to say next would leave the whole place speechless. Sophie Miller wasn't just tired, she was exhausted to the bone. Her apron was stained, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, and her sneakers had holes in the soles. But none of that mattered. What mattered was paying the rent, buying groceries for her little sister, and keeping the lights on. Life hadn't been kind to Sophie. Her parents had died when she was only 16, leaving her to raise her younger sister, Lily, who was now just 10. Sophie worked double shifts at the diner, attended community college part-time, and somehow managed to be both sister and mother to Lily. But even superheroes have their breaking points. And that night, as the rain poured outside, Sophie felt the walls closing in. The landlord had handed her an eviction notice earlier that day. Lily needed new shoes for school, and her tuition payment was overdue. She wiped her tears, forcing a smile every time she approached a table. "Hi there, what can I get for you tonight?" Her voice was cheery, but her eyes betrayed her. When she reached table 7, a solitary man in a tailored suit. Staring out the rain-streaked window, she felt a flicker of nerves. He didn't look like the usual diner customer. His watch alone probably cost more than her rent. But she smiled anyway. "Good evening, sir. Coffee, dinner special." The man looked at her, his steel blue eyes sharp yet tired. "Coffee? Black? And maybe some peace and quiet." Sophie nodded politely, unaware that this man was Ethan Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Enterprises. Ethan Reynolds was used to boardrooms, not diners. He hadn't stepped into one in years. But that night, something had pulled him in. Maybe it was nostalgia. He'd grown up in neighborhoods like this, eating dollar pancakes and watery coffee. Or maybe it was the gnawing loneliness that no amount of wealth could fix. He watched the young waitress bustle around the room. She moved quickly, efficiently, but he noticed the slump of her shoulders, the way she dabbed her eyes when she thought no one was looking. When she set down his coffee, her hands trembled slightly. Ethan frowned. "Are you all right?" he asked, his tone unintentionally brusque. Sophie froze, blinking back tears. "Guess sir, sorry. Just a long day." She forced a smile and hurried off before he could say more. Ethan sipped his coffee, but his mind lingered on her. Something about her reminded him of his younger self, a boy who had once scrubbed dishes at a diner to help his single mother make rent. He remembered standing in kitchens, exhausted and invisible, while men in suits laughed over their meals. But tonight, he wasn't the boy. He was the man in the suit. And across the room, the waitress was crying again, quietly, in the corner near the soda machine, thinking no one noticed. But Ethan noticed, and something inside him stirred. The diner was half empty, the rain muffling the city outside. A few truckers chatted near the counter. A young couple laughed in a booth. But in the corner, Sophie tried to hold herself together. She leaned against the wall, covering her face with her apron. Her chest shook with silent sobs. She thought about Lily, waiting at home with homework spread across the table, asking if they could order pizza like her friends' families did. Sophie had smiled and said, "Maybe next week," knowing full well it wouldn't happen. Ethan pushed back his chair, his footsteps echoing softly against the tiled floor. The entire diner seemed to pause as he approached her. "Miss," he said gently, his voice softer now. "Are you okay?" Sophie quickly wiped her face, embarrassed. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean the customers aren't supposed to see. I'll be fine." But Ethan didn't move. His eyes studied her, not with judgment, but with something else. Recognition. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "pretending to be fine is the heaviest burden of all." The words caught Sophie off guard. She looked at him properly for the first time. He wasn't just a customer. There was weight behind his gaze, pain behind his polished exterior. Ethan continued, his voice carrying just enough for the nearby tables to hear. I used to be you. I know what it's like to wonder if the bills will get paid, if the lights will stay on, if the people you love will have what they need. The room went silent. Even the couple in the booth stopped laughing. Sophie shook her head. Sir, with all due respect, you don't know what it's like to live like this. Ethan took a breath. My mother worked 3 jobs. I washed dishes at 13. There were nights we ate nothing but bread. I built my company because I refused to watch her cry anymore. I do know, and that's why I can't just sit here and watch you break down alone. The truckers shifted uncomfortably. The cook peered through the kitchen window. Everyone was listening. Now Sophie's lips trembled. She wanted to speak, but the lump in her throat wouldn't let her. Ethan straightened, his voice steady and firm. What's your name? Sophie, she whispered. Sophie, he repeated. I want you to remember this moment because it's going to change your life. Murmurs rippled through the diner. Sophie blinked at him, confused. Ethan reached into his jacket, pulled out a sleek business card, and placed it on the counter beside her. Tomorrow morning, come to Reynolds Enterprises. Ask for me directly. You're not going to be a waitress anymore. The entire diner gasped. Even Sophie stumbled back. No, sir, I can't. You can, Ethan interrupted. I need someone with your grit. Your strength. Anyone who works double shifts to take care of family has qualities no resume can capture. You'll start as my assistant. Salary, benefits, healthcare, and more importantly, stability. Sophie's hand covered her mouth. Tears spilled freely now. What? Why would you do this for me? Ethan's voice softened, carrying across the hushed diner. Because someone once did it for me. And because kindness should never stop with one person. You don't know it yet, Sophie, but you're worth more than you think. The truckers clapped first, then the couple in the booth. Soon, the whole diner erupted in applause. Sophie stood frozen, overwhelmed, trembling. For the first time in years, she felt hoped out the next morning. Sophie walked nervously into the towering glass building of Reynolds Enterprises. She clutched Ethan's business card like it was a lifeline. To her shock, the receptionist smiled warmly. Mr. Reynolds is expecting you. Minutes later, she was ushered into Ethan's office, a vast, sleek room overlooking the Chicago skyline. Ethan greeted her not as a waitress, but as someone he believed in. Over the weeks that followed, Sophie learned quickly. She organized schedules, handled projects, and impressed everyone with her dedication. Ethan mentored her, guiding her not just in business, but in self-belief. At night, Sophie returned home to Lily with stories of her new job, with groceries in hand and laughter in her voice. For the first time in years, Lily slept without worry in her sister's eyes. And for Ethan, something changed too. He realized that success wasn't about numbers or towers of glass. It was about people lifting others the way he wished someone had lifted him sooner. In the end, one rainy night at a diner became a turning point. A CEO, weary of his own burdens, recognized himself in a crying waitress, and with a few simple words, he gave her not charity, but dignity, a chance to rise. For Sophie, it was the moment her life transformed. For Ethan, it was a reminder that, even at the top, we are never too far from the struggles of those below. So remember this. Kindness doesn't always mean grand gestures. Sometimes it means seeing someone when they feel invisible. Sometimes it means saying, I believe in you. And when spoken at the right time, those words can leave an entire room in shock and a life forever changed. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Grace Mitchell Stories, where tales of love, courage, and hope come alive every week. Because the truth is simple, wealth can buy comfort, but compassion can change the world.